everyone, and welcome back to Speak Like a Leader. Today, we are diving into 7 essential do's and don'ts in business English, because communication is the foundation of success in any professional environment. Whether you are pitching your ideas, collaborating with teams, or negotiating with clients, you can express yourself in a way that can make or break the outcome. Now, according to research, clear and effective communication is consistently ranked as one of the top skills employees seek. But here's the catch. Speaking English in a business context isn't the same as speaking it casually, because business English has its own set of rules, guidelines, and nuances. So what works in your everyday conversations doesn't necessarily translate to professional situations. For example, you have to think about your tone, clarity, politeness, and even cultural differences can be crucial in other languages. Unlike some languages where formality and politeness are built into the grammar, in English you have to choose the right words and tone to sound professional. And that's why mastering the nuances of business English is so important. It helps you stand out, avoid miscommunication, and get your message across effectively. So are you ready to take your communication skills to the next level? Let's jump into the 7 do's and don'ts of business English to help you master the language like a pro. Right, in the next couple of minutes, for every tip I give you, there should be something you should be doing and something that you shouldn't be doing, you should avoid doing. So make sure to follow the do's and avoid the don'ts in your English communications. First do for today that you need to do is be clear and concise, because studies show that the average professional spends about 28% of their work week managing emails and meetings. That's a lot of time, so make sure your messages are direct and easy to understand, because rambling or using unnecessary words can confuse your audience and waste time. Now, here's an example. Do say, we need to increase our Q4 sales by 10%. But don't say, so what we're trying to do is basically, sort of improve our performance for the upcoming 4th quarter by around 10%. See the difference? The clearer your message, the quicker your audience understands you, and you can avoid misunderstandings. On the other hand, what you should not do is don't overuse jargon or slang. Business is global, and you'll often be working with people from different industries or countries. Using too much jargon can alienate others or make them feel left out of the conversation. According to studies, clarity and simplicity increases engagement and comprehension. Let's look at an example. Do say, let's talk about our sales strategy for Q4. But don't say, we need to synergize our core competencies to optimize deliverables for Q4. Jargon might sound impressive, but it often leads to confusion. So stick to clear language that everyone can follow. Tip number 2, use polite language. Why? Because a polite tone encourages collaboration, it builds relationships. In a global business world, using polite language helps you come across as professional and respectful. So do say, could you please send me the report by Friday? But don't say, I need that report on my desk by Friday. Being polite doesn't just sound nice, it shows respect and consideration, which is essential in an international professional setting. Let's move on to another don't, however. Don't use negative language. Speaking negatively can create a toxic environment and lower morale, which directly impacts productivity. Studies show that using positive language instead helps foster a more constructive, solutions-focused atmosphere. Let's look at our examples. Do say, "We're facing a challenge, but I'm confident we can find a solution." But don't say, "This is a disaster and we're never going to solve this problem." By staying positive and focusing on solutions, you create an environment where people feel empowered to tackle challenges. Number 3 is practice active listening, because communication is a two-way street. And active listening shows that you value the other person's input. Research shows that active listeners retain more information and build stronger relationships. So feel free to say something like, "I hear what you're saying, and I think you have a good point. Can you elaborate a bit more on that?" But don't interrupt or start thinking about your response while the other person is speaking by saying something like, "Yes, but I want to be clear about one thing. This is not acceptable." Remember, listening is just as important as speaking. Being a good listener will make you a better communicator overall. And that leads to our next don't. Do not interrupt or dominate the conversation. It's crucial to give people space to express themselves. Constant interruptions can come off as disrespectful, and you could harm your professional relationships. So do say something like, "That's a good point. May I add something after you finish?" But don't start cutting someone off mid-sentence or steering the conversation back to yourself by saying something like, "I disagree and want to change the course of this discussion." By allowing others to speak, you create a more balanced and collaborative environment. Tip number 4, ask questions to clarify. Miscommunication can be costly in business, so never hesitate to ask questions to ensure you fully understand the message. Not only does this prevent mistakes, but it shows you're engaged and you care about getting it right. So say the following: "Could you clarify what you mean by this?" But never try to guess or assume what someone means when you're not sure. Asking questions shows that you're detail-oriented and committed to accuracy, which is a valuable trait in today's business. On the other hand, don't be too direct, especially in your email communications. Business communication, particularly written communication, often requires a softer touch, as we say. So being too blunt can come across as rude, especially in global context. And they may expect more polite formalities. Look at these examples. It's lovely to say, "Could you please update me on the project's status?" But don't say, "Update me on the project status." It's too direct. Even though you might be clear, being too direct can unintentionally create tension. It's all about balancing clarity with politeness. Let's move on to tip number 5, focus on the solution, not the problem. In business, everyone encounters challenges and problems, of course, but your ability to offer solutions sets you apart as a proactive leader. Studies show that solution-oriented professionals are perceived as more capable and reliable. So it's great to say, "We're behind schedule, but if we add more resources to the team, we can still meet the deadline." But it's kind of stressful to say, "We're behind schedule, there's nothing we can do." So focusing on solutions shows initiative and leadership, which is crucial for success in any business environment. Now, for related don't in this section, don't focus on the problem, because getting stuck in negative thinking only prolongs the issue and reduces your team's morale. Instead, shift the conversation to what can actually be done. A great way to state a problem is, "This is the issue we're facing, but here are some steps we can take to fix it." Not something like, "We're stuck and nothing's working." By shifting from problem-focused to solution-focused thinking. You help keep the team motivated and moving forward. Next up is tip number 6, and you need to adapt to your audience. Business communication isn't a one-size-fits-all approach. Whether you're speaking with executives, clients, or your own team, you have to tailor your message to their level of understanding and expectations. You need to adjust your language to suit the audience. For example, keep things more formal when talking to senior executives, but use simpler terms in cross-departmental or team meetings. And do not use overly technical language with non-technical audiences, or treat informal conversations as if you're in a formal meeting. By adapting your communication style to your audience, you make sure your message is not only heard, but understood. Now, the corresponding don't in this case is don't ignore cultural differences. Because in today's global business world, failing to recognize cultural differences in communication can lead to misunderstanding and even people being offended. You do need to research the communication styles of different cultures you're working with and adjust your approach. And you shouldn't assume that everyone communicates the same way that you do or has the same expectations for professionalism. Being aware of cultural nuances makes you a more effective communicator and prevents any awkward misunderstandings. Finally, let's end with tip number 7, which is all about using action-oriented language. When you're giving instructions, leading a meeting, or even writing an email, you need to use verbs that encourage action, that can help motivate others and drive progress. Look at this example. An official way to push people into taking actions is by saying, let's move forward with the project and complete the task, the next steps by Friday. So try to never say the project needs to be done by Friday, because it sounds rude unless this is your objective. Now, action-oriented language adds energy to your communication and inspires your colleagues to get moving. However, the corresponding don't here is don't be vague in your instructions, because lack of clarity can lead to confusion and delays. Specificity helps ensure that tasks get done right the first time. When you want to get things done, say, please finalize the report and send it to me by Friday at noon. Not a generic note like, can you take care of that report? Clear, specific instructions leave no room for misunderstanding and ensure that tasks get completed as expected. And there you have it, the 7 do's and don'ts in business English. Let's recap. What you need to do is be clear and concise, use polite language, practice active listening, ask questions, focus on solutions, adapt to your audience, and use action-oriented language. But you should not use unnecessary words, rude language, interrupt or dominate conversations, make assumptions, focus on the problem, ignore cultural differences, and be vague. Because English is an international language, you will probably be using English to talk, to prepare with people from many different countries. So it is a good idea to maintain the British politeness and respect that will guarantee you amazing results. Now, if you found these tips helpful, don't forget to like this video and subscribe to our channel to gain access to many more educational videos on how to take your business English skills to the next level. Have a great day and see you next time.